I wake before the rooster, same as always. The house is quiet except for the ticking clock in the kitchen and the hum of the old refrigerator. That sound comforts me. It's the rhythm of survival, of things still working the way they should. I splash cold water on my face, pull on boots that have molded to my feet after years of trudging through clay and pasture, and step onto the porch. The boards creak under me, soft with age, but they've held me all my life. The air is thick with dew. Every blade of grass glitters like it's been dipped in silver. Off in the distance, the horizon bleeds into a pale gold, promising heat later. I grab a hoe from the side of the shed and start my slow walk toward the fields. Out here, the quiet is never total. Cicadas buzz, a mourning dove calls, and every so often a truck engine groans down the county road. But compared to town, it feels like silence. This land has been in my family's hands for 3 generations. My daddy used to say the dirt itself remembered his sweat and his fathers before him. He'd stand with his arms folded, staring out across the rows, reminding me, "Daniel, this here's not just property. It's proof we stayed, proof we fought to keep something ours when folks tried to take it." And that's the weight I carry every morning. Pride wrapped in duty, lined with fear that I could be the one to lose it. Most mornings I move from chore to chore without much thought. Feed the hens, check the fence line, clear weeds along the irrigation ditch. Today, though, something pulls me toward the ravine. I rarely go down there. Daddy warned me it was easy to twist an ankle on the loose rocks, and besides, nothing grows in that shaded gash cutting through the property. But my feet take me there anyway, through tall grass still wet enough to soak my jeans. The ravine air feels different, cooler, heavier. Moss clings to stones and the damp smell rises up, earthy and sharp. I pause at the edge, listening to the stillness. No birds singing down here. Just a faint trickle of water seeping under the rocks. I climb down slowly, pressing my palm against the dirt wall for balance. The ground is softer than I expect, giving under my boots. That's when I see it. Something pale against the brown soil, half buried, curved smooth like a shoulder. At first I think it's just a stone catching light, but as I crouch closer, my stomach tightens. It's too round, too perfect. My fingertips graze the surface, and the chill of it shoots straight through my skin. Not the rough grit of limestone, not the jagged edge of shale. This feels forged, like it was made, not born of earth. I pull my hand back, my chest rising and falling faster than it should. I whisper to myself, "What in the world are you?" My voice echoes faintly in the ravine, like even the land wants to keep the secret. I straighten up, brushing dirt from my knees, heart still hammering. I've worked this soil my whole life. I thought I knew every inch of it. Yet here it is, something waiting, something I was never meant to ignore. And now I can't unsee it.
The next morning, I tell myself I'll leave it be. There's feed to haul, a busted fence post to fix, weeds creeping too close to the collar patch. But no matter how hard I try to focus, my eyes keep drifting toward that ravine. The shovel leaning by the barn feels heavier with temptation than with weight. By noon, the sun presses hard on my shoulders, sweat slicking my back. I finally give in, setting the shovel across my shoulder and walking back to the cut in the land. My boots crunch on the gravel slope, every step echoing louder than it should. The air cools again as I descend, that damp smell wrapping around me. I find the peeled curve where I left it, waiting like it never belonged here but refused to move on. I kneel and push the soil aside with my fingers first. The dirt is moist, dark, easy to crumble. More the curve reveals itself, smooth as glass, cool even in the sticky heat. My breath catches as I lean close, pressing my palm flat against it. The chill seeps through me, a strange shiver that doesn't feel like fear or comfort, but something in between. This ain't rock. I know that in my bones. Stones carry grit, veins, flaws that mark them as part of the earth. This has none of that. It's too deliberate, too flawless. The surface curves on, suggesting size beyond my imagination. I tap it lightly with the metal end of the shovel, and the sound rings back hollow, metallic, a low tone that seems to settle in my chest. I stumble back, dirt smearing my knees, heart pounding. For a long moment, I just sit there on the damp ground, trying to steady my breathing. I listen. The ravine holds its silence, except now it feels different, like it's listening back. I press my hand against my forehead, whispering, "Lord, what have I walked into?" Daddy used to tell me that land speaks if you pay attention. I always thought he meant the cracks in the soil, the timing of the rain. But this feels like a voice he forgot to mention. I should climb out, let the dirt cover it again, pretend I never saw it. But I don't move. My fingers itch to clear more away, to see how far it stretches, to understand what I've touched. When I finally stand, my legs shake. I drag the shovel up the slope, not sure if I'm carrying it home or if it's dragging me back tomorrow. Because one thing is certain now. This ain't some odd-shaped stone. It's something immense, something hidden. And I know I won't be able to leave it buried.
I hardly sleep that night. The ceiling fan turns lazy circles above me, pushing warm air around the room, but my body won't rest. Every time I close my eyes, I see that smooth curve shining under the soil like a secret eye staring back at me. By dawn, I'm already lacing my boots, shovel in hand. The chores go half done. I toss feed to the hens without counting. The water trough leaks, but I don't bother tightening the pipe. My whole body points toward the ravine. The morning sun is still low when I climb down again, heart beating like it's racing me there. This time, I come prepared. Not just the shovel, but a short-handled spade, even an old hand trowel Mama once used for her flower beds. I kneel in the dirt and start digging. Each scrape of metal against earth makes the curve grow wider, more undeniable. The soil clings to my gloves, damp and heavy, but I can't stop. Hours pass. Sweat runs into my eyes, blurring my vision. My back knots tight. My palms blister under the handles. Still, I keep going. The object seems to swell with each scoop, mocking my effort. The surface stretches farther than I imagined, too wide to belong to anything simple. No edge reveals itself, just endless curve, smooth and unbroken. I mutter to myself, half crazed with heat and fatigue. What are you? Why here? The words fall into the soil, swallowed without answer. By afternoon, my arms shake so bad I can barely lift the spade. I collapse on the ground, chest heaving. The ravine is quiet, but not empty. The presence of the thing fills the air, pressing on me like humidity. I should feel afraid, but what I feel most is hunger, a need to see more, to understand more. When I finally drag myself back up the slope, the shovel hangs loose in my hand, blade caked with mud. My body aches in ways I'll pay for tomorrow. But my mind is alive, circling one truth. I can't stop now. I won't stop until I know how deep this goes.
The days blur together. Morning chores become lighter, quicker, sloppy. I leave feed in piles, fences sagging, weeds creeping across rows of beans. My neighbors would shake their heads if they saw, but I can't help it. My body moves toward the ravine like it's magnetized. I dig until my shoulders scream, until blisters split open raw on my palms. The shovel clinks, the spade scrapes, the trowel scritches against dirt that never seems to end. Each evening I stagger back home, muscles trembling, clothes heavy with mud. At night I dream of that curve, spreading wider and wider, swallowing me whole. The thing under the earth is massive, bigger than my daddy's tractor, bigger than the barn, maybe bigger than the whole ravine itself. Every layer of dirt I peel away only shows more of the same smooth, impossible surface. No markings, no seams, no cracks. Just perfection stretching into the unseen. The air down there has changed, too. It hangs heavy with dampness, clinging to my lungs. Sometimes I think I hear faint vibrations when my tools strike, the kind of low hum you feel more than hear. I pause, ears straining, heart in my throat, then silence again, as if the earth is mocking me. I'm breaking myself against this mystery. My back spasms when I bend. My knees pop every time I climb out of the ravine. Sleep barely touches me. Food tastes like cardboard. I'm worn down to nothing but obsession. One evening, I drop the shovel mid-swing. My arms won't lift it again. I slump against the wall of dirt, sweat and soil coating me like a second skin. My chest rattles with each breath. For the first time, the thought hits me. I can't do this alone. The admission tastes bitter because black men are taught to shoulder what we're given. My daddy worked this land until his body quit on him, never once asking for help. But looking at the curve stretching beyond my reach, I know this isn't about pride anymore. It's survival. I whisper into the ravine's silence. I need someone else. And the moment the words leave my lips, I feel the shift. This secret is no longer mine alone.
I call Mark because he's the only one I halfway trust. He teaches geology at the community college, spends weekends poking around creek beds for fossils. He grew up in town, still remembers my daddy's voice carrying at Sunday service. When I ask if he can stop by, I keep my words clipped. Got something strange on the land. Need your eyes. He shows up in dusty jeans, a small hammer hooked on his belt. I lead him straight to the ravine without explanation. He cracks jokes on the way down, something about me finally letting him hunt for arrowheads on my property. But when he kneels and lays his hand on the exposed surface, the words die in his throat. What in the... His voice trails off. He knocks gently with the hammer. The hollow note vibrates between us. He looks at me wide-eyed like I've handed him the keys to some hidden kingdom. By the next week, he's brought colleagues. Then colleagues bring students. Before I can blink, the ravine is crowded with people in reflective vests and clipboards, setting up tents and stringing wires like it's their land to tame. Machinery hums, soil cores drilled and bagged. They argue in fast words I don't follow. Mineral composition, fabrication, anomalies. Part of me is relieved. For days, I thought I was losing my mind, digging myself into madness. Seeing their faces lit with wonder proves I wasn't imagining it. But with every new voice echoing off the ravine walls, dread rises in me. One morning, I come down with coffee in hand, only to find a yellow rope stretched across the slope. A stranger waves me off like I'm the intruder. My name, my family's name is on the deed, but suddenly my soil feels like borrowed ground. I try to remind myself I asked for this. I wanted help. But the truth settles in like a stone in my gut. Once the world takes notice, a black man's hold on what's his thins out fast. My daddy used to warn me about letting outsiders get too close. I hear his voice now, hard and certain. They'll study you, Daniel. Then they'll take what's left. I stare at the crowd swarming my ravine, cameras flashing, boots stomping, theories flying. The secret has left my hands, and I know the town will hear of it soon enough.
The first sign was the cars, a line of them idling along the county road, dust rising behind the tires, folks leaning over fences with cameras, others just standing with arms crossed, waiting to see what all the fuss was. By the time the local paper ran a story with a photograph I never gave permission for, it was over. My quiet was gone. Reporters showed up at the gate, shouting questions like I was some politician. "Mr. Carter, is it a meteorite, government property, alien technology?" The pen scratched fast, never pausing long enough to hear an answer. Neighbors stopped by, not to check on me, but to gawk, the kids pointing over the rope strung across the ravine. One evening, I came out of the barn to find a stranger parked right up against my house. He leaned on the hood, smoking, snapping pictures of the fields. When I told him to leave, he smirked like I was a sideshow worker shooing customers away. The noise settled into every corner of my life. Helicopters thumped overhead, drones buzzed low, their little cameras blinking red. My dogs barked themselves hoarse at the crowds pressed against the fences. I couldn't sit on the porch without someone hollering a question or snapping a photo. And through it all, whispers spread. Accusations that I'd staged the whole thing, that I was selling tickets behind closed doors, that I was hiding the truth from the public. Reporters wrote about me like I was greedy, suspicious. Some folks in town who used to nod when we passed in church parking lots stopped meeting our eyes. I felt shame burning under my skin, even though I'd done nothing wrong. Anger, too, white hot, at the thought of strangers painting me a liar on the very soil my father bled into. The ravine, once a quiet scar in the land, had become a wound pried open for everyone's entertainment. Most nights now I stand in my window and look out over the fields. Headlights snake across the road, voices carry through the dark, laughter mixing with the low hum of machines down by the ravine. My sanctuary has been broken wide open, and there's no wall high enough to keep the world out. And still the question lingers, heavy as ever. What toll will this take, not just on my farm, but on me?
By midsummer, the ravine looked less like part of my farm and more like a construction site. White tents, humming generators, metal scaffolds straddling the edges. Specialists came and went, geologists, engineers, even a couple of folks claiming to represent federal agencies. They drilled, they scanned, they carted away samples. The air was never still, always clattering with machines or voices clashing. I stood back most days, arms crossed, watching. At first, I waited for someone to step forward with an answer, some neat label to quiet the storm. But the longer they worked, the clearer it became they didn't know. Some swore it was natural, others swore it wasn't. Tests contradicted each other. One week the papers called it ancient metal, the next unusual rock formation. Arguments broke out right there in front of me. Men and women with advanced degrees yelling like children on a playground. Meanwhile, the land itself paid the price. Tire tracks chewed through pasture. My irrigation ditches went untended and clogged. Rows of beans withered under weeds. Even the hens grew restless, clucking at the racket day and night. My body felt heavier by the week, not from digging this time, but from standing helpless as my father's legacy frayed before my eyes. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the cracked ceiling, thinking, I gave them my secret, and they gave me nothing back but ruin. Their hunger for answers didn't match mine own anymore. Where mine was reverent, theirs was ravenous. They weren't listening to the land, they were tearing at it. One evening I walked down alone, after they'd packed up for the night. The ravine lay quiet, machines shut down, lanterns casting long shadows. I ran my hand over the smooth curve again. Cool, unchanging, untouched by all their fuss. In that silence, I felt something stir inside me. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some things just are. I pulled my hand back, brushing the dirt away from my palm. For the first time since I'd started digging, I didn't feel the need to know more. I only felt the need to protect what was left. But peace wouldn't come easy, not with the damage already done. The question now was whether the land could ever heal from all this noise.
By the time autumn came, the circus had thinned. The cars stopped lining the road, the reporters drifted off chasing newer stories, and even the scientists packed up their tents. Whatever funding or patience they had ran out, leaving the ravine quiet again. The land bore scars, tracks still cut across the pasture, patches of dead grass where heavy machines had rested too long. The soil around the ravine was churned and uneven, a wound that would take years to smooth out. But silence, true silence, had returned. Crickets sang again at night, owls called from the trees, and I could finally hear my own footsteps on the porch without them drowned out by voices and engines. I went down to the ravine one morning after the first frost. The air was crisp, my breath visible in little bursts. The curve of the object still gleamed faintly under its thin layer of soil, unchanged, untouched, really, by everything that had happened above it. All their machines, their theories, their noise, it hadn't moved an inch. It sat there, eternal, as if it had been waiting all along for me to understand. I laid my hand on it once more. Cold, smooth, steady. For months I had seen it as a burden, then a battle, then a theft. Now standing there alone, I felt something different. Reverence. Peace. Like maybe it wasn't mine to uncover, mine to solve. Maybe it was just mine to witness, to carry forward as part of the story of this land. Daddy always told me our fields held history. I used to think he meant our sweat, our survival, but maybe the lesson was broader. Maybe every acre carries layers older and deeper than we'll ever know. As I climbed out of the ravine, the morning light touched the frost on the grass, making the whole field shimmer. I felt the weight on my shoulders ease, not gone, but gentled. The object wasn't a curse or even a riddle. It was a reminder that I'm part of something vast, that not everything needs my strength or my answers. Some mysteries are meant to remain. I stood at the top of the slope looking back once before heading home. The land was quiet, my heart steady. For the first time in months, I felt free. Because peace, I realized, doesn't come from knowing. It comes from letting the unknowable be sacred.